Welcome to today's podcast interview. I brought on Eric Hinman. Eric, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Heather.
Our meet cute, and I love that saying, it actually comes from movie Holiday, is one I haven't had yet for a podcast guest, but Eric and I actually met on a Southwest flight coming home back to Denver from Running Man, it's what I've been referring to as a build your own adventure, this running feat with entrepreneurs and high achievers, ambitious people. But for those that are new to you, where do you live and what do you do?
Yeah, so I live in Denver, Colorado. Right now I'm in Austin, Texas, kind of splitting time between the two states. And I build brands. I also exercise a lot. That is the perception of me on social media, that I'm just exercising 24/7. But the business side of me is I help build brands, specifically in the wellness space. I do a lot of angel investing in brands. I amplify awareness for brands. I create community for brands. I build brand ambassador programs specifically for early stage wellness brands.
Okay, and we're gonna get into your Ironman days because I think that's huge, especially around this whole mindset piece. But I'd love for you to share a little background. What was life like before you started on where you're at today?
Sure. So I grew up in a really small town, Pulaski, New York, on Lake Ontario. I played three sports in high school: basketball, I ran cross country, and I ran track. Grew up snowmobiling, fishing on Lake Ontario, and boating. So very, small town country upbringing. And I went to school for business management in upstate New York as well, SUNY Geneseo. And after that, I started my first business, a property and casualty insurance agency. And it was an opportunity that my father gave me. He gave me a company car and a small salary and said, go door to door and, create this business for yourself. So I said, okay. And the first couple of years were really hard. It was a lot of just cold calling and knocking on doors and hearing no. But after a couple of years, I really hit my stride and focused in on two niche markets, ensuring campgrounds and marinas in upstate New York. And that was really my first lesson in entrepreneurship, to go narrow and deep on something. So laser focus on one thing, be known for one thing, and run with that until you've completely saturated the market, and then pick something else. And I've really done that kind of over and over again with each chapter of life. So very entrepreneur background. I then started a software company in 2010 with some business partners, opened a gym in 2013, opened up several restaurants with business partners. So that's my business background. And then as far as my athletic background, I got pretty out of shape in my early and mid 20s. I was partying a lot, drinking heavily on the weekends, just chasing the public perception of success, trying to make more money, buy fancier cars and suits and watches. And, I got to a place where I didn't feel all that great. I had an energy lull during the middle of the day. I didn't have any education around healthy eating, or any education around the appropriate way to train to be energized throughout the day. So in my late 20s, I hired a personal trainer who gave me the accountability, structure, and knowledge to really reshape my life and my energy levels, my mental clarity, my emotional well-being. And subsequently, I got into triathlon, and that was just because a bunch of my friends bought these fancy bikes that had four handlebars on them, and I was really intrigued by the design of the bike and asked them why that bike, like what they were doing, and they told me about a half Ironman coming to Syracuse. So I signed up for a sprint distance triathlon, then an Olympic distance, then a half, and then five full Ironmans, several years after that first sprint distance triathlon. And during those years, I really realized I wanted to prioritize health and wellness. I just felt like I was becoming the best version of myself after each of those exercise sessions with my personal trainer and, running, biking, and swimming. I had this tremendous mental clarity, energy, and I started to attract really good people and really good opportunities into my life. So, I started to associate exercise with positive energy and opportunity, more so even than, any kind of physical aesthetic or physical performance. And that's really where I am today. I still train at a very high level, but it's much more just to have a full cup so that I can give back, I can share value, and I've realized over time that the more you give, the more you share, the more comes back to you.
There's a lot I want to break down from what you shared because not everybody's an endurance athlete, not everybody's an Ironman, but I believe what you speak about and what you're all about, we can all use in our life in different ways. So, what I take away from all that is number one, you had clarity, you had accountability, uh, discipline, right? Like you have to be able to discipline not only your mind, your emotions, your habits, all of that. So maybe can we break that specifically down, like how important it is? I mean, you're a serial entrepreneur, which is its own mindset and uphill battle compared to a 9 to 5er. But all of those skill sets you have, I believe every person can use in their own angle, their own way of life. So let's break that down.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first part of that is the only way to fast track success is to surround yourself with people who've gotten where you want to go. So, I've had coaches all along, and I've also just surrounded myself with mentors, people who I deem to be doing what I want to do at a very high level and just absorb their knowledge. So, that's kind of step one. If you're looking to make some changes and you want to get to where someone else has gone, like reach out to them, DM them on Instagram, ask them questions, and obviously try and give them some value back so they'll want to spend time with you. And then through those Ironman years, the biggest lessons I learned were I can be world class at something. As long as you dedicate 10,000 hours to something and you eliminate distractions and you do things with purpose, like you can be successful at what you want to do. It just takes 5 years to get there of purposeful direction. So, during those Ironman years, I had a coach and he would input my workouts into Training Peaks. And if I didn't hit that workout to a T, it would be red instead of green. And I wanted to turn every single one of those workouts into green. So, I followed his process for a 5 year period. And that took me from not being able to swim, being a decent runner, and not having biked to competing with the best in the world at the Ironman World Championships in Kona. And again, it was literally just from executing on a daily basis, compounding consistencies. And then the other big lesson I learned from that is like just breaking things down into mini goals to get to this crazy lofty goal that you have in the future. And dedicating enough time to those goals every single day and saying no to a lot of other things so you can stay laser focused on, for me during that time period, swimming, biking, and running on 25 hours a week. And I had to say no to a lot of things during that time period to become world class at it. So most that you see being very successful or world class at something, they just spent long enough and surrounded themselves with the right people and been in the right environment to achieve success in whatever they're doing.
Okay. I want to talk about that for a second. So, kind of what I just wrote down and an image that came to mind is our comfort zone. And a lot of people stay stuck. So, a lot of people come to me, especially executives, high achievers, they're literally stuck. Negative mentality, their relationships, revenue goal, whatever. And I think a lot of people can relate to feeling stuck in life. And maybe that's where you were in your 20s before you hit movement. But let's talk about the comfort zone because I'll just share my experience where I'm at in my journey. I have walked away from a lot of social groups
Mm-hmm.
and no judgment, but I think like where you were, I realized if I continued spending my nights and weekends drinking and going to brunch and going through life's motions, nothing in my life was going to change. And that's when for me, it was 2019, my endurance year. I ran a marathon, did a triathlon, a Tough Mudder, and then another half marathon. And drinking just was taken off the table.
Mm-hmm.
And I would still go and do the social things, drinking LaCroix because I liked something in my hand, but I was fine drinking just soda water. But then I realized they weren't my people anymore because I had nothing in common. And I have found people have told me verbatim, like I really want change, but they're afraid of it or to lose those people. How can we help people shift their mentality and understand that, like, in order to level up in life, business, whatever you are dreaming of,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to require a new level of you and probably a new tribe.
Yeah. So, changing your behaviors is one way. And I truly believe it's a lot harder to go cold turkey on something without replacing it than it is to just replace it with something. So for me, I found these new activities. I found triathlon, I found running, biking, and swimming. I found this Wednesday night triathlon club that I became obsessed with. And through that, I met new friends. So all of a sudden, I'm hanging out with new people who are training for triathlon, and their activities are different than my old friend group. And then ultimately, changing your environment is another thing that often has to happen if you want to make it easier to achieve what you're looking to achieve. So I moved to Denver, Colorado in 2017 because I was getting more and more into the creator space. I was training outside a lot. I wanted to go to a place where it just begged me to be outside all the time and where others were outside training all the time. Colorado is a mecca for endurance athletes. So, being in that environment, all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're surrounded by people that are world class at what you want to be world class at. So that's going to help you get there. Very recently, literally 2 weeks ago, we started renting a home in Austin because I wanted to level up in the media side of what I'm doing, the creator side of what I'm doing, the community side of what I'm doing. And in my opinion, Austin is second to none in their wellness community. It's just attracted a ton of wellness creators. It's attracted all of the new media personalities from Joe Rogan to Chris Williamson. And I wanted to be here and surround myself with those people that I deem to be doing world class things. So we have an awesome place in Denver. We have awesome friends in Denver, but I know that by changing the environment and being in an environment where I'm around those world class people, I'm going to bump shoulders with them. I'm going to learn from them. It's going to make what I'm trying to do now easier.
I'm so curious. I love the quote or motto to let fear fuel you, not rule you. And
Mm-hmm.
that alone is its own mindset. What have you done to build the mindset that like you embrace failure? You are putting yourself in uncomfortable situations or in Austin, a new city, and you're having to put yourself out there to meet people. How do you do that?
Sets and reps, just like anything in life, just like in the weight room, to get stronger at anything, sets and reps. So, I've practiced risk a lot. I've started lots of businesses. I've invested in lots of businesses. I've had failures all along the way. And, you realize it's not the end of the world. It just teaches you lessons so you can make better decisions in the next thing you pursue. And, I also practice a lot of things that are uncomfortable. I have a religious sauna and cold exposure practice. We met at Running Man, where it was all based around, running as far as you wanted in a 10-hour period and a very hot sauna and very cold plunges. So I embrace these things that train my nervous system to not freak out when something goes wrong. And I also have figured out what I can do every single day to get back to a place of feeling good and feeling good about myself, having positive energy. I know if I exercise, it clears my mind. If I have a business fail today, exercising tomorrow is going to get me back into a positive mindset fairly quickly. So I keep all of these practices in my routine to develop a tolerance to hardship and risk.
Oh, I love that. Develop a tolerance. Here's what I want to know, and a question I ask, I think, every guest. I have found that people who are, quote, successful, let's call them the top 3 percenters, right? What I have found is those 3 percenters are simply doing things differently. They're no better than, like a Jeff Bezos, he's put in the 10,000 hours, but they're also extremely intentional and mindful with how they're spending their time.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to hear from you. What are these daily rituals that are, you're human. I imagine you have quote off days or fall off track. What are you doing to keep you forward focused?
I time block and have for years. When I was training for triathlon, 25 hours a week, I was running several businesses during that time period as well. And I was forced to structure my day in a way that I could get all of those workouts in and I could manage multiple businesses. So, I just got to a place where my head was above the ceiling with my commitments, and I had to figure out a way to do the things that only I could do and I could do best. So, exercise is prioritized for me. I know after hitting my morning workout, I'm going to have mental clarity, I'm going to have energy, and I'm going to show up up as the best version of myself, I'm going to be super productive. And I also know that I have about a 3 hour window of time, and I have maybe 5 or 6 flow state conversations I can have each day before my social battery starts to be drained. So, I minimize it to that. And I have those set after workouts where I know my mind is going to be most clear. And then I have my sauna and cold exposure routine that I do every single night. And generally, I'm doing it with other people. It's oftentimes where I'm meeting new people. If someone asks to meet with me, I tell them to come over and sauna at our house. So I multitask without multitasking with some of the things I do. But the routine for me is really built around wellness practices that fuel energy, fuel mental clarity. And if you have those things, like, you're going to attract opportunities into your life.
Something I'm going to include links in the show notes in this description, but here's what I love that you have on your website is something you do. Again, this is an intentional practice, but you have a quarterly review and 6 questions you ask yourself. Can we please talk about the importance of self-reflection and what this review looks like for you that others can implement as well?
Sure. So, I kind of adopted this during those Ironman years where I had a lot of time alone and I had space to understand how I wanted to design my life. What areas of my life where I wasn't completely present. I didn't feel like I was getting value or giving value. And then I wrote down all of those times, activities, people, environments where I felt like I was giving a ton of value. I was getting a ton of value, and I was completely present in the moment. And I started to eliminate a lot of those energy detractors, those things where my mind was wandering and I just didn't feel like that was something I benefited from, and started building my life around all of these positive things where I felt like I was really contributing and I felt like my cup was really full. I felt energized. I felt completely in the moment. And the same is true for environments. I feel like I grew out of the city that I was in. I wanted to be in an environment that allowed me to more easily live my life the way I wanted to live it. So the things I do now are just writing that out constantly, like reanalyzing and seeing if there's any areas in my life that I feel like are draining my energy, and then areas in my life that are, giving me energy. And I redesign my life around those positive energy sources and eliminate those negative energy sources.
Did you have a specific mentor that helped you with all this? Because the words you're using that I talk about often is you can live your life by design, which is what you are doing, very intentionally. You have things in place, you've had mentors, you've had coaches. Or I think what the masses are doing is living their life by default, unconscious autopilot. And like my whole goal is to wake people up. So what has been that mentor or catalyst?
Yeah, I mean, the catalyst goes back to the Ironman years of realizing that I was attracting so many opportunities into my life, just doing something I enjoyed and sharing my passions and sharing my purpose with the world. And again, just being mindful of, am I just going through the motions? Am I just trading time for money? Am I really, does my tribe around me want me to win? All of those things. And then if the answers are no to some of those, just starting to dabble in new things to figure out where you can find a tribe that wants you to win, where that environment is, where you thrive, and what those activities are that give you so much energy that you attract this positive energy and all of these opportunities back into your world.
On that note, you have well, it's a saying on your website, but you help others live their best day ever every day. What does that mean to you?
Figuring out what your perfect day is. It took years to do that, but I've designed my life around these tiny wins that I have that I try to accomplish every single day that I know will lead me to my head hits the pillow at night. And I'm like, that day was perfect. I feel so fulfilled. Some of them that obviously wellness is a big component of that, getting my heart rate up high, doing some kind of weight training, anaerobic conditioning, but meet one new person every day. That's something I try to do on a regular basis. And, I probably meet way more than that with our community sauna that we have at our various homes. And some other ones are do skill-based activities. Like I mountain bike, I enjoy making espresso, I enjoy smoking meat at night. I love skill-based activities because they train you to be present. And I feel like that is a skill that we're all losing in today's society because we're just bombarded with options and distractions and people, marketing to us. So practicing these skill-based activities on a regular basis retrain our mind to be present and in the moment. And then things that bring me back to how we had to live in the as our ancestors lived. So the cold exposure, the heat, being outside for at least 60 minutes every single day, watching the sunrise, like these things that our ancestors just did naturally. I try to bring a lot of them back into my life because it would only make sense that we'll thrive if we live the way that we were designed to live and thrive.
Okay, something you touched on there I would love to expand on is the idea of presence.
Mhm.
Again, something I see a lot. My biggest platform is LinkedIn, but what I see a lot there is people have gotten stuck in a rut. Um, and they're harping on the woulda, coulda, shouldas, the yesterdays. One of my clients, he had been reeling for 18 months on this past relationship. This other guy, he'd been reeling and was still talking about his ex-wife, even though he's remarried. So, there's tons of ideas I could talk about, but how would you help somebody create presence and stay forward focused and stop looking in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, I mean, practice these skill-based activities. So I think of certain things as benefiting me more than others. So for example, I love mountain biking. Mountain biking combines being outside with aerobic and anaerobic conditioning, and it also combines risk with developing skills to do it. So it's checking all of these boxes where you have to be completely in the moment to do it. Rock climbing is another one where there's risk, there's skill, you're outside in nature. There's an anaerobic component, an aerobic component, there's strength component to it. CrossFit, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, these things you have to be in the moment while you're doing them. Cold exposure, you're in the moment while you're doing it. In the sauna, your phone will overheat in 2 to 3 minutes if you have it in there. So, my phone is not with me when I'm in the sauna. So doing things that you have to be present for will allow you to then be more present with people you're with, environments you're in, and in other activities throughout your life. So yeah, I make sure that these presence-based activities are built into my daily routine so I can show up for others and be completely present. And if I have a 1 hour meeting, I can be completely present in that meeting.
It's coming to mind for those that don't have an athletic background. Other ways of creating presence and mindfulness is literally being present, washing the dishes,
Sure.
brushing your teeth, journaling, sitting in silence, right? Meditation. That's the whole purpose. And for me, like I want to debunk meditation, the woo-woo, and it's literally sensory deprivation and training your focus and awareness.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all meditation is.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I want to ask you, because I feel like you have a million balls in the air, but you don't seem, and tell me if I'm wrong, you don't seem high stress and burnout.
Yeah, correct.
So, what do you do being able to juggle all these things? How are you creating clarity in your yeses and your nos?
I'm actually going to do a post on this later this week, but from an opportunity standpoint, hell yeses for me are in a business relationship. Would I fly to Tokyo with that person and sit next to them? Meaning, do I want to spend a lot of time with them? Is it an opportunity that isn't going to take away from the way I want to live my life? So do I have to be at a certain place at a certain time, I generally say no to those opportunities. Is it just trading time for money? I say no to those opportunities. Is it creating an asset? Is it creating residual income? I say yes to those opportunities. And the biggest one is does it weave in with my lifestyle? And that's why I've created this new business I have working with wellness brands, is because a lot of my work is just documenting my lifestyle, documenting my training, documenting my diet, documenting my supplements, sharing my journey with people, and then just weaving in these products and services that I use throughout the day. So I would be living my life the exact same way, even if I didn't have these, business relationships from it. So I'm careful who I work with to make sure that it checks all of these boxes and I can continue doing the wellness practices that I want every single day. And then from a stress resilience standpoint, again, the hard CrossFit workouts, the sauna and cold exposure, these things train your nervous system to embrace stress. And I could have the worst day in the world, but as soon as I do my contrast therapy at night and I get into some 40-degree water and I'm sitting in a 200-degree sauna, it really just makes all of that stress go away. Or if I have a massive to-do list, it makes that to-do list that feels like it's stacked vertically on my head. It just goes horizontal in front of me and I feel like I can just tiptoe over it. So, I mean, that's why I do these various practices, because it allows me to take on a lot, but not feel overwhelmed by it.
If someone's listening to our conversation and for whatever reason, like I'm feeling inspired and motivated because it's like putting me back in where I was in that 9 to 5. But for a lot of people that are going through life's motions, they want to reinvent themselves. They want to live their life by design, but they're stuck in a cush 9 to 5, or they feel trapped. That this is a term one of my girlfriends was sharing with me a week ago. She's like, I feel trapped.
Mm-hmm.
For people who are in that realm, I truly believe we are the creators of our reality. So, like, you can rewrite your story anytime you choose. What would you offer those individuals currently feeling stuck, trapped? They want a new chapter, but don't know where to start.
Side hustles, just doing something on the side. If you have a family and you have a mortgage and you have car payments, obviously you can't just walk away from the golden handcuff. But, I have many friends that have gradually walked away from a golden handcuff by starting to do things they were really passionate about, starting to surround themselves with people that are doing what they want to be doing, mentors, and eventually being in an environment that allows you to more easily do what you would rather do. So it's really just being aware that you want to do something else, you want to design your life differently, and then starting to put some of those pieces in place to get to where you want to go. And again, the easiest way to get somewhere else is surrounding yourself with people that are doing what you want to do. So, if you want to be a creator and you want to work with brands, surrounding yourself with people like me, messaging me on social media and asking me, how did you get to where you wanted to go? How did you add value to build an audience to, then capitalize on it through brand deals that you have? So it's just that being aware, and then that side hustling, just starting to carve out enough time that you can put a foot in over here and just, see if you can gradually take your other foot out of what you don't enjoy.
I'm curious from you. I also believe in the mindset you don't have to wait for January 1st. You don't have to wait until Monday. But we are coming up on a new year, a new 365 days, a blank slate.
Mhm.
What is this next 12 months? What does this next chapter look like for you?
So we're doing a lot of in-person events. I'm hosting these founders retreats for founders of wellness brands where I curate it with 30 to 40 wellness brand founders and just let magic happen, where the sum is greater than the parts. All of them are doing similar things in different verticals, and they can benefit greatly from being with each other for several days. And I create an environment where I know captive conversations will occur. Big adventures, big hikes, hard workouts, saunas, cold streams. I just create a container allowing for them to deeply bond with each other. And we're doing these wellness house pop-ups where, we pop up for several months in a different city and we host contrast therapy sessions to, immerse ourselves in that city's wellness community and to build community for the brands that I work with. more community events, more wellness retreats, podcast, longer form content. Those are all on the radar for me in 2024. And again, like I knew that I had to step out of my comfort zone being in Denver, where life is great. I love my life there. But if I want to take, business to the next level, I had to go to a place where people are doing what I want to be doing on, the highest level in the US.
Any other cities you're or wherever you're going to be visiting in 24?
Yeah, we're targeting LA is one of the places we would like to do a pop-up. San Diego is on our radar. And then as far as the founders only retreats, we'll be doing them in Austin, Denver, Nashville, and Palm Springs.
And how does somebody join something like that?
Follow foundersonly.club on Instagram. That's where I'll be sharing a lot of the retreats and different things around this founders only brand.
All right. There was something else, I guess kind of on that note, since you're all about community and these pop-ups and the terms I use is your vibe attracts your tribe and how important it is to surround yourself with people who are thinking bigger and doing the things. You have something that you call a VIP list. What is that?
Yeah, I designed this probably 15 years ago, and I just started keeping track of the people who I had flow state conversations with, where I felt like I got tremendous value and was able to give tremendous value. And I just put this list in Evernote, and I look at that list every single month and just reach out to people that I haven't connected with in a while. And something I've been doing more recently is if I have a great conversation with someone and I feel like we both benefited tremendously, I'll just set up a reoccurring meeting with them. I'll say, hey, pick a time every month or every other month, and let's just have a reoccurring 30-minute calendar appointment so that we can catch up on a regular basis. Just because I meet so many people that it's easy to lose track of relationships that both parties tremendously benefited from unless you're really intentional about, keeping that relationship alive.
I love that. That's a great idea. And even, the idea of masterminds and inner circles, and it's constantly putting yourself in the environments with the people you want to be around. I love that. Here's what I want to ask you when it comes to mindset and creating your life by design. What do you believe is a key takeaway you want listeners to get?
Movement is medicine. Understanding that the movement component of my life is not for a physical aesthetic. It is for emotional well-being, mental clarity, energy. And, by having all of those, you will attract opportunities into your life. You will start to design a life that you really want to live. And, you'll get to a place where you start to design your perfect days. So, I mean, the fundamental thing for me every single day is making sure that I am moving, and oftentimes outside.
For me, I know a lot of people aren't runners, but we happen to have met at a running event. When I'm not listening to music, when I am present and I'm running, there is nothing like a runner's high for me. Nothing, I mean, I love chocolate, but like nothing beats for me, it's clarity, it's the endorphins, it's that physical, the high. Like I feel unstoppable after a run. Is that
Same.
what running is like for you? And I know you're big into rucking, right?
I am. Yeah. I have a long, long history of running. So if I run much more than 8 or 10 miles now, I just feel kind of beat up. And my goals the last 4 or 5 years have shifted more towards strength training and anaerobic capacity and power-based movements. So rucking for me, it's not as much impact, but my heart rate is still in that zone 2 of 130 to 140 that anyone can benefit greatly from. It's often a heart rate, if you're going on a long run, that you're in when you're running. And yeah, I mean, when you exercise, you are increasing your dopamine levels and you have this endorphin rush, which leads to that I feel great feeling afterwards. And it also, narrows your aperture so that you can more clearly focus on like one thing at a time. So you get all of these incredible benefits from running, exercising, especially if you're doing them outside as well. You'll get the benefits of being outside. I always talk about if you have access to it, like go run outside as opposed to being inside in a fitness facility. It's you're going to you're going to kill two birds with one stone if you're able to do that.
Yeah, I love that. All right, I have a few rapid fire questions to wrap up the interview. What is a quote or motto that you live by?
Movement is medicine.
What is a book you're currently reading or highly recommend when it comes to mindset or, living your life by design?
Right now, I'm reading Alex Hermosi's book, $100 Million Leads, just because I'm looking to continue understanding how to build a business around my current chapter of life. But a book that I think everyone would benefit greatly from is How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's an all-time book that I try to read every single year, just about, never eating alone, putting yourself out there, meeting new people, how to develop relationships, and how to build community.
Well, I think you've done that well. Final question. What advice would you give your younger self?
I think I would tell my younger self that you don't have to live life based on, the public perception of success.
Mm-hmm.
You can define your own destiny. Don't take pressures from others if they perceive you to not be following the norms. I don't have a 9 to 5, and I haven't had a 9 to 5 in 15 years now. I've really created my own things and created my own opportunities. And that really wasn't the path that I learned growing up. It was really like work a 9 to 5, work hard on the weekdays so you can play on the weekends. And I was able to find a way to, really just play each day and do the things that I want to do every day that allowed me to thrive. And by getting to a place where I was exuding energy and providing lots of value, opportunities started to come to me. So yeah, it would be, like really figure out intuitively what makes you click, figure out what your passions and purpose are, and you figure out how you can add value through those things. And if you're adding enough value in the world, it'll come back in monetary form, which, is necessary for us to have shelter and to buy food and, to have transportation. So that obviously is a key component to it.
Yeah, I love that. And such a great note to end on. I love your fire. I love your energy. I love your passion. And I'm so glad we met on that Southwest flight.
Same,
Thanks,
Heather. Thank
Eric.
you so much.